me. So, today I'm going to do a movie review and I'll be reviewing the 1999 version of Alice in Wonderland. And honestly, I don't think if anyone else has heard about this one, about this version, because I'm pretty sure we all have seen the animated version of Disney and the other one with Johnny Depp. But this one, I don't think no one ever really knows about it. So, and of course, we all know the story of Alice in Wonderland. And so, because I just want to say this, I did watch this recently, last month, and now this one did not came out in theaters. This was released on TV. So it was a TV movie. But at the time it came out, the special effects, the CGI in this movie honestly were not good. Just not good at all, to be honest. So this one, okay, so this version is directed by Nick Willing, music composed by Richard Hartley, and with the main character of Alice played by Tina Mahorino. And we get this all-star cast that plays of these different characters throughout the movie. And so as I was watching this, because I had now for those who probably have seen my tweet on Twitter probably like a month ago or so, I remember somehow watching this version, but only I think little bits, and there are two things I did remember, but somehow I didn't know exactly, like somehow I couldn't quite remember it like in detail, but somehow I just knew that I remembered that, and so I just put it out there on Twitter, and so I remember that I actually saw it was for free to watch on YouTube. And then, so when I saw it was for free, to watch, I thought, okay, I'm gonna watch this because I don't remember all of it. Like, there's very little things that I remember, but I don't remember a whole lot of it. And so when I did came to watch the movie, there was just, yeah. Now, of course, it was quite interesting, the way it started, and the way it was going. And what was weird is that when Alice saw the white rabbit, when you see him moving, like running, it looks very robotic in a way where he's moving like really fast, but in a weird way. And I'm like, okay, I've never seen a rabbit moving like that fast before. But I think that was because this one was an animatronic of the rabbit, which is why he was moving really fast, but in a weird way. And so yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, that's really weird. And then of course when she fell into this hole, she goes down, and then she enters into this very weird and mad world of Wonderland. Is it even really called Wonderland? I think it is, but I'm not sure. Or it could be called We All Go Mad Here, because the characters, of course, somehow are mad. They're kind of a bit crazy in some way. And so like I said, we get all like this all-star cast, where each one is playing a different character. So even when I looked up on the cast, um, I was actually like, wow, like, okay, they pretty much almost had everyone in here. Sorry about that. And so, as I'm watching, I thought, okay, so far, okay, this kind of feels like I've seen this before. It kind of feels familiar, but I thought, okay, I just gotta continue watching. But yeah, and then, um, like I said, you get these very like strange and weird and a bit crazy characters, and I think the one thing I think I kind of remember was this like baby that this woman was holding, and the baby's head was like kind of big and it was crying, but of course it didn't sound like a normal baby cry. It sounded like a very weird baby cry. And so yeah, I remember thinking, okay, I think I kind of remember that, kind of. But the one thing I couldn't quite put my finger on was the Cheshire Cat. Now I knew, and that's another thing too, because it had been so long ago since I first watched it, but somehow I already knew that Whoopi Goldberg was the Cheshire Cat. And I thought, okay, how did the Cheshire Cat look again? And I was just confused. But then the moment, it shows the Cheshire Cat, you see like this, okay, like this cat, like this body of a cat, the body, the tail, and pretty much the head of a cat. But you see her features, her eyes, and mouth pretty much onto the cat's head. But that looked creepy, to be honest. And honestly, I remember seeing that, I actually was quite stunned, because somehow I remember seeing that, but somehow I kind of completely forgot. And I remember looking, and I'm like, like I just didn't. I was kind of speechless, because I'm like, okay, that's creepy. But in a way, I also feel bad. Like, I feel bad because it's like Whoopi Goldberg's, her eyes, her mouth was pretty much on a cat's head, along, with the cat's body and everything. And I'm like, okay, I feel bad for her because, like, I don't know, I just kind of think that just looked creepy, like I said. And so I think what maybe they should have done was, maybe to put her like in a costume, like a cat costume, and maybe do like realistic face paint on her where she looks like a cat. But for them to do what they have did, to me, it just didn't quite sit right with me, you know. And like I said, the CGI in this movie was just not good. And like I said, so I think the way they told this story, I felt like they could have told the story of Alice in Wonderland just more better. And I think even with the cast and those who play the characters in this movie, now I liked their performances, but there are some things I did not quite like of their characters, whether if it was maybe the design or maybe if it was something that could have been different. So yeah, and that's the one thing I think they could have fixed with the Cheshire Cat. Because yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone agrees that looked creepy. So, and I'm like, oh gosh, no. But you get these other, actors, like I said, that play these characters. Like you get Christopher Lloyd, who plays the White Knight, Miranda Richardson as the Queen of Hearts. And what's interesting though is that somehow I didn't quite remember her character. I don't know, but now she is a great actress, and I've seen her performances in some movies. But in this one, it just seemed like, I don't know. I think she did her best, but I think in this one, when she played the Queen of Hearts, to me, it just seemed like her character just seemed to be, like, temperamental, but it seemed like she was always yelling, but it didn't sound like yelling like if she was like, pissed off, like really like mad. It didn't quite sound like that. It just seemed like the way she would yell and get mad, it just seemed like it almost seemed like whiny in a way. And each time she was like screaming, I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, I don't know, somehow I just expected that the Queen of Hearts would have been more like full of rage and would be very mad, someone who, okay, for example, like the one in the Disney one, like the way she would get mad, like she got mad, her face turned red. She was like a volcano. So I thought that Queen of Hearts, how she was gonna be, where she's just so full of rage. She just has all this anger inside of her, and she's just gonna erupt, like this very explosive, very angry volcano. So that's what I thought. But no, her character did seem mad, like mad, more like in a irritated kind of way, but at the same time, the way she would get mad, and the way she would scream, it didn't sound like she was really angry. It just almost sounded like whiny. In a way, and I'm sorry for saying that, but I'm just being honest. And I do think the Queen of Hearts could have had more of that, of having that rage, of anger, where it's very explosive, like how we get to see in the animated one. So that's just my thought on it. And what's also surprising is this scene of the griffin and, was it not turtle or tortoise? So I thought that scene was good because at least they were like trying to, I think, comfort Alice, and they weren't picking on her, they weren't being mean or anything. And so, and I think, Gene Wilder as the turtle or tortoise, I don't know which one it was, and him, like, just simply being nice to her, and I think doing this, like singing a song, and I think trying to help her to feel, I think, more confident. So yeah, I thought that was good, so I actually like that. So there are some things in this movie that I did thought were good. Like some parts I thought were entertaining, but I thought most of all, this half could have been done better, especially with the CGI, and maybe with certain parts of within the story, maybe telling it a bit differently. And the oyster, okay. Now the part of where Tweedledee and Tweedledum, where they're telling this story of, the whole oyster story, and how, the walrus, if I'm saying that right, how he and a carpenter are tricking this oyster mother for her children to go with them, and that they'll be safe, but really they did that because uh, they saw those other little oysters as food. And that is a really sad, most disturbing story. I would say within Alice in Wonderland. Like the way it was presented in the Disney movie, it was dark. And the way it was presented in this version was also dark because by the time they were done telling the story to Alice, they got these oysters. But of course, they weren't real oysters, but they had fake oyster shells, and inside the oyster, I think it was Jello. From what I remember, it looked like green Jello. So they like picked it up and they do that, and I'm thinking, ah, okay. And honestly, now, for anyone who likes to eat oysters, that's fine. I don't judge. But personally, I would never eat an oyster only because the way it looks so wet and slimy. And plus, I know if something like that went down my throat, I would not like it. I think it would make me gag. So, no, I would not. But anyway, and I think another thing too that I thought could have been fixed, and another thing I think that pretty much stunned me, and I thought, oh no, they did not have to do that. But even the scene where Alice is at the tea party with the hair and the Mad Hatter. Now, the Mad Hatter is played by Martin Short, and I think he did a great job playing the character, although what I didn't like is the fact that someone, I don't know who, but someone who decided to make his character's head really big. Honestly, it looks over exaggerated. That's how I see it. Like, okay, let me give a good example. One of those big glass, like, okay, that thing you look through is kind of like a magnifying glass, but it's round, it's big, but then if you stand in front of it, your head looks really big, like just overly large. That's what it looked like, but yeah, that's what it looked like, but very is exaggerated large. And that's the one thing that stunned me, because I remember I was like, I just had no words, and I'm like, oh no. And I'm thinking, why did they do that? Like, now the thing is, whether if the character was described that way in the book or not, I feel like they shouldn't have done that, because when we see the version with Johnny Depp, they don't do anything to him like that. They don't say, okay, well, we're gonna make your head super big, like a really, you know what I mean? Like, they did not do that. So I felt like whether the character was described that way in the book or not, I felt like that's one thing they should not have done. I think what they should have had done was just left it alone, not have done anything to that. But maybe I think what they should have done was maybe give him like maybe like a large, tall hat for him to wear, but of course it'll be like very lightweight, so that way it won't hurt his head. But I think that's what they could have done, but no. So even that to me was like, okay, what did they do? Like, they should not have done that. Like, okay. So I think there's just some things that I would have fixed, and that would be, so some of those things, yeah, I would have fixed if I could, but nope. But I'm just saying that since we pretty much know the story, I do feel like the story could have been told better, and there are some things that could have been done differently with the characters, especially I would say especially with the Cheshire Cat and Mad Hatter. I felt like there are some things that could have been done better. Um, you know, especially pretty much how they looked and pretty much, with the CGI of the characters. I felt like, no, you didn't have to do that. So, that's just pretty much my review on the movie. But other than that, I still like the performances, but I do feel like this should have been told better, even for a TV movie, because I know there are some TV movies where they pretty much do a good job. I feel like this one could have been done better, and I think the ending should have been better too. So, yeah, that's my review on Alice in Wonderland. And to rate it, okay, I would give it, okay, I would say a 4 out of 10. I would give it at least 30%, 2 stars, and what else? Am I missing something? And I would give it a C. So, yeah, and I do think this is one of those movies that is not really heard of, but if you want to check it out and see it for yourself, by all means, yeah, check it out and see. If you want to watch it, then do it if you want to. I think it's still free on YouTube, but then again, if not, I'm pretty sure there's other ways where you can watch it. But just to let you know, it is around like 2 hours. So yeah. So I'm sorry if the rating is so low, but again, I feel like the story and everything else could have done better, and some things I think they could have fixed even with the characters. So yeah, that's it. And to see more movie content like this, please subscribe. And if you like the story of Alice in Wonderland, like this video, and let me know if you have seen this version. And if you have, let me know what you thought of it, or if you haven't, then you can watch it if you want to and see it for yourself. But yeah, and let me know what version of the story you like best. That's all for today. Oh, and click on the bell to be notified when I upload. That's all for today, and I'll see you at the movies.